Queen Victoria's 7 requests for her funeral. 1. She was buried with the plaster cast of her husband's hand. Prince Albert died unexpectedly at age 42. Queen Victoria was in mourning for the rest of her life. She kept her bedroom draped in black. It was decorated with Albert's photos and portraits. The cast of his hand was made shortly after his death. Victoria slept with it nightly. 2. She had a white funeral. The Queen's entire funeral was in white. This included horses, mourning attire, and a funeral crepe. Victoria was buried wearing her white bridal veil. She wore it at her 1840 wedding to Prince Albert. She began the custom of wearing white wedding gowns. The color symbolizes Victoria's purity. Both she and Albert were virgins on their wedding night. 3. She had wedding rings on both her hands. Victoria had a second wedding ring on her left ring finger. It was given to her by a Scottish royal servant, John Brown. Prince Albert had spoken very highly of Brown. Victoria sent for him when she became a widow. She became close friends with Brown. He could get away with criticizing her. A Scottish minister claimed he had secretly married them. However, the Queen's children despised Brown. Only her physician, Sir James Reed, knew about the ring. He put the wedding band on the Queen's finger. 4. She was buried with lots of jewelry. The Queen's coffin was layered with charcoal. It kept down odors and wetness from the deceased. Prince Albert's dressing gown was spread over the charcoal. Sentimental mementos were then placed in the coffin. Victoria was adorned with lockets and pendants. She had rings on every finger and bracelets on both wrists. 5. She had a sprig of Scottish heather on her body. Queen Victoria died in January 1901. Flowers for her funeral were sourced from greenhouses. A sprig of heather was placed on her body. The flowering heather is a symbol of Scotland. It could be a reminder of the time spent in Balmoral Castle. It could also symbolize her connection to John Brown. 6. She had a memento of her late daughter in her coffin. Victoria was buried with an embroidered man's cloak. It belonged to her late husband, Prince Albert. The cloak was made by their daughter, Princess Alice. Of her 9 children, Alice was the closest to Victoria. She was also the first of the children to die. 7. She was lowered to her grave in a specific configuration. Family members and servants put Victoria in a casket. Her doctor and female secretary were lifting her head. On one side of her body was her son, King Edward VII. Her grandson, German Kaiser Wilhelm II, helped him. Her other son, Arthur, Duke of Connaught, was with them. On the other side of her body were 3 of her servants.